My name is architect Kritika Juneja, Associate Editor of Ace Update magazine. Against the backdrop of an increase in the design conscience of Indians, more and more people have realized the importance of interior design. People are now more aware of how an interior designer can help them organize and utilize spaces effectively without compromising on aesthetic. Customized products by various national and international designers and companies like IKEA have furthered the cause of beautifying interior. Homes have now become synonymous with beautiful interiors. And with this webinar, we will reach out to various architects and interior designers to understand the concept of new age interiors closely. Keeping this plan in mind, Ace Update is conducting an online interaction on exploring the world of new age interiors today. The distinguished speakers for today's interaction on exploring the world of new age interiors, Mr. Amit Rastogi from Design Transcend, Ms. Shagun Singh from Homework Interior Studio, Mr. Siddharth Agarwal from Collins Kitchens and Wardrobes. The notion of beauty is often derogatory. It is often confined to how pleasing it seems to your senses, especially sight. How do you take both aesthetics and functionality along while designing?
Maybe I'll first go back to the way you did the introduction about the topic today. So I guess it is not the sensibility or awareness of Indians. It's not just limited to say the brands like IKEA or other global players which have come into Indian market. But I think there is a lot of contribution by Instagram and Pinterest as well. So now when you talk about the notion of beauty, what I would say is most of us on daily basis, we are consuming so much of beautiful imagery. May not be beautiful, I would say good looking imagery that it has kind of shifted the way we kind of think or perceive what a space should look like. So like if I have to describe, I don't think when as designers, when we design the interior spaces, it is not just about the beautiful image what we are looking for, but it is mainly the comfort. When we say comfort, it is not the comfort which is just bodily, but it is about the comfort of how we occupy space. So that's the way we should design spaces. And coming to the question of how do you balance the aesthetics and functionality, I think I could not like explain that in say a few minutes, but it's basically about detailing, and that's why designers are there. So
Shagun, will you like to add something to it?
I think that when you design spaces, any space, and especially a home, which is what I actually specialize in, I think that it's very important that a home is beautiful. So when you think about beauty, you also have to think about how you're going to maintain it. It's not just about the photography, which is like, somebody just said on the panel that it's a lot about Instagram. It's really not. At the end of the day, a person who's getting that home made also needs to make sure that that home can be looking the same way that it did when the interior design firm left it. So I think that yes, there is, you have to think about a space in a holistic manner when you're designing it. So you think about how it's going to be a functional space, yet beautiful and yet maintenance friendly. And I think those are the things that I really keep in mind when I am, putting a space together and designing for that space, to think about all of those three aspects. And I think that they all go hand in hand.
Adding to the same, Siddharth, would you like to add something about the aesthetics and functionality of kitchen?
Firstly, it's great that you've taken the initiative, and everybody welcome to the discussion. I would just, in addition to what Amit and Shagun have said, it is the job of an architect to design, and they're sort of not alone in this, because there are too many agencies, too many vendors that have to work with them in achieving what they want along with functionality. So that's where companies like us have to also step up our game and make a product which will help them make the product beautiful and also keep it very, very functional for the client. So it has to be a process between the architects and the product designers.
Talking in particular about kitchens, how do you take functionality and aesthetics?
It's I mean, it's quite easy for us to achieve beauty. I mean, it's not so complicated, right? In a kitchen, it's easy to make a beautiful looking kitchen. But to make it very functional, it's very important to firstly understand what the client really needs. Because the way you use a kitchen versus maybe how I use my kitchen or somebody else, it's all going to be different depending on who's actually going to cook there or what are your storage habits. So what we do is that we take a long list and ask like 30 questions of the client first thing before we start designing anything. So for example, we have a lot of clients who want to keep maybe 30 kgs, 60 kgs of grain in their kitchen all the time. So then it's our job to give them something which does that for them. Somebody might, like, I have a client who's very hell-bent that, we have a lot of parties and there's a lot of heavy cooking happening. So, my kitchen has to be designed accordingly. So that's our job. So if you get the right input, if you ask the right questions, you'll get the right input, and then you can design better.
Right, very true. Teamwork is the key. Moving on to my next question. Design detail is all about size, shape, material, and tolerance. How do you think furniture plays a vital role in interior design? Shagun, will you like to say something on this?
One that I often have a discussion with, with all my customers, because sometimes a customer is looking at a space and they're looking at furniture as two different elements, which you never can do and you shouldn't do. You have to look at your space and then look at the furniture. So, I've had clients who say, oh, I want like this particular sofa because it's so beautiful in this space. Now, how do I just have to have it. I was like, it may be beautiful, but it's probably not set up for this space and it's probably not right. So you have to educate, because you are the design firm or you are the one that has the sensibility on the depth and analysis of furniture. Like I said in my first brief as well, that it's very important to keep counseling and educating your customers to say, what are you choosing and what's right for your space. So I do think that you can't think of those two things independently. You can go into a store and find 100 things beautiful, but you can't have them all in your space. So you have to get in there saying that, how is this going to look in that particular area? I might love the idea of a big Maharaja 4-poster bed. If I have a room size that is 120 square feet, I have to think about that before I push it into that room. So I think it's very important to keep educating and talking to your customers.
So there is a question from the audience for you. Design in itself is an experiment of perception and can stem from multiple sources, including social media. How easy or difficult is it to keep a fickle, impulsive, or a moody client grounded in reality?
When you get into that space of designing somebody's personal space, they're coming to you. It's like going to a doctor a little bit. You have to tell the person on the other side, like, look, one of us has to do this job. It's either you or me. So either you listen to me or you go ahead and medicate yourself. I'm fine with that. And sometimes I think that, actually, I would say that 99.9% of the times customers understand that and they kind of hear what you have to say. And if they don't, then it's just, then you just tell them that, it's your decision. At the end of the day, it's your home. And sometimes customers do turn around and tell you, I have to live in this space. So I'm like, okay, go ahead, do as you please. I can only guide you. I can show you the, route. But if you don't want to take it, that's up to you. But I think most times when customers come to you today, that sensibility is changing. People do realize that there's Pinterest on one side and there's so much to be seen and heard and seen on Pinterest, but they also realize that that's Pinterest. Can it really be replicated onto reality? Because a lot of what you see on Pinterest today is what's happening abroad. It's not something that can easily be and should be replicated here. And you have to, and I think customers today understand that, and which is why there are so many more design firms today involved in this process of designing homes. Years ago, I don't think that was the story, right? And so people are willing to listen and to understand what that designer has to say to them about their spaces. And if you just have a moody customer, it's just your luck. And you just have to tell them that, go ahead and do your bit.
Moving on to my next question to Amit. I think you have already answered the same, but if you want to add something to it. Interior design is all about curating comfort. According to you, what is a good design?
I think I did answer to this some bit. So when you say comfort, I think we literally take it as comfort of, say, the material or what bodily comfort we need. Comfort in terms of how the space should be. It should be comfortable to sit, or probably the environment. But it is much more than that. Basically, it is more about how the space feels like. Maybe if I give you an example, I've seen that happening mostly in the large houses where you may have a double height living space and a huge sofa in the center. And what happens is it is usually a group of say 5 to 6 people who are going to really occupy that space. And the way the scaling of furniture is, sometimes it feels so hostile to occupy that space that it is not at all comfortable to sit there and interact. Maybe as the owner, you may get used to it, but you have someone new coming into your house and you want to form a closed group and interact, it doesn't feel good at all. So for me, comfort is that, apart from, of course, the bodily comfort.
So Siddharth, would you like to add to the same what is a good design of kitchen means to you?
Of course, it has to be nice on the eyes, easy on the eyes, but it eventually, like they're saying, it's about the vibe of the place, it's the vibe of it. Good design has to mean that it is very functionally useful for the person who's using it. That's pretty much what they're also trying to say, I think. Yeah, that's.
Which materials do you prefer the most, which are energy efficient and resemble the modern look and feel of your interiors as well?
So the kind of designer that I am, I try and look at things that, and I think I'm maybe a little bit different from the other panelists here. I don't know. But I think that today, a lot of the material that you get in the market in itself is, just more environmentally friendly in any case. So you're kind of veering towards that, but you're trying to keep it modern. My style is modern contemporary. That's who I really am, and my style sensibility is that. So whilst, yes, you try and think of the best energy and the best environmentally friendly products in the market, but I also feel like a house must look warm, inviting, just homely in whatever sense that it can. And therefore, I wouldn't I would choose lighting, which is, yes, energy efficient, but also beautiful and, kind of resonates with a home. So I think you can't say that you will just use one against the other, because especially when you're designing homes, you want a home to look like a home, not like a hotel or a commercial space. So, and like I said, the market today has a lot of products, whatever you're using, which are environmentally friendly. Products are being designed today keeping that in mind. So you end up using those, but at the same time, keeping that whole thing about how you want the space to look homely.
Right, very true. Amit, would you like to add something to the same? Which materials would you prefer in your interior?
Not really. I think Shagun kind of gave a very descriptive answer, so not much to add there. Thanks, Shagun.
Yeah,
no, which materials do you prefer for your interiors, which are both energy efficient as well as they resemble the modern look and feel of your interiors?
So even for us, we go for more modern contemporary look, and we try and get a lot of natural materials into the project. So now may not say it is very, very environment friendly, not everything, but yeah, most of it, like Shagun said, that most of the materials in market now are environment friendly, but sometimes a client comes in and they want marble for somewhere. You can't say no to it. So
Mr. Nikhil Ganatra want to know, how are smart homes changing or altering the paradigm of creative interiors? Is it in a way furthering minimal designs or minimalism at large? So would like to start with Siddhant.
Yes, smart homes and smart kitchens and everything. It's like right there. We are trying to keep up with every new thing that clients are asking for. But I think yes, it is bringing in more minimalism because I think clients also want very straight line and very contemporary stuff most of the time now. And everything needs to look like an iPhone, like a small, round, nice, neat thing, no colors, very plain. I think the interior designers will be able to back me up on this. But yeah, definitely, it's happening.
Yeah. How do you see, Mr. Amit?
I think smart homes are probably cutting down the amount of clutter, making things more minimal by cutting down what we don't require. But otherwise, overall design perspective, probably giving more opportunities to do things in more creative way.
Yeah, that's great. And when you talk about smart homes, Ms. Shagun, how far interior design is being influenced by home automation?
To be honest, really, I would say that other than maybe so there are certain aspects in a home where you do want, better sort of products to be used, like a kitchen, for example. And like Siddharth said, that, kitchens becoming modular, becoming more user friendly in terms of what every household wants, because every home runs their kitchen differently. And I think today that kitchen segment or wardrobe segment really has a lot to offer. But having said that, automation, I've renovated now, I don't know, 100 odd homes, maybe a little bit more. I would say that a lot of customers have come back saying that, we want automated homes in a lot of ways. Like, are they really looking for automation? I'm not sure. I mean, I had one or two clients who came back and said, oh, I want the whole feeling of automation where I can, by the press of a button, have my curtains coming down and all of that. Because when you have automation, you also have that much more. I think we know that when we run homes, and as somebody who runs a home as well, I can certainly say that, the more machinery you have around your house, the more you have people coming in to fix it. Unfortunately, because a lot of our homes are also handled by staff. And I think that is a reality that none of us are willing to, as homeowners. I mean, I know that my home is handled by my staff. So I know exactly how it's being handled. So I think that in that sense, yes, you are using smarter products, but are you saying automated? I'm not sure if that's really, it's a nice word and a term to use, but I have barely used it in my 100 odd homes that I've renovated. And I've really had like I've worked with many interesting homeowners, women who are big lawyers, business women, all of that. And everybody says exactly what I say. And as another woman, I'm just like, okay, my home has to be easy for the other person to deal with. I have to really convince even people to use things like blinds. They're like, no, curtain is much easier because my staff will break my blind. So I really don't know if I agree with the whole automation bit yet.
Yeah, so you see that home automation is yet to get accepted or for Indian society.
Of course. I mean, you think about it, right? Like you have your washing machine, you have to fix it at least once a year, or your dishwasher or your RO. And now imagine adding automation in everything that you're doing in your house. You'll have like outsiders coming in and fixing things all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So let us hear from Amit as well. Amit, how do you see that, how far we are being friendly with the technology used for home?
Technology has to make things convenient and not more of hassle. So yeah, one is the maintenance part of it. Second is when you have automation done in such a way, mostly through voice and things, where it's quite easy. But when you start having more devices where you have to press buttons and do things like that, then initially it feels very good that, okay, you could do multiple things. But over the time, okay, it is one additional hassle, and then you just live with that one mode and you don't even change that mode.
So, Siddharth, when we talk about kitchens, kitchen is another area where we see a lot of innovations and developments happening. Even when we talk about automation, kitchen is not different. How do you see technologies impacting designing kitchens?
Basically, we get a lot of people who want to operate everything at the touch of a button. They don't want to really have to even open a drawer. Like a lot of people get very fascinated that they can just touch a drawer and it'll open and all that. So and the amount of appliances, gadgets, everything that's coming in, it's phenomenal. So I mean, this is just constantly adding to the way technology is getting integrated into kitchens and wardrobes for us. Like, for example, I mean, every light has to have a sensor system, diffuser system. They want to control how much light comes out, what color comes out. So there's basically a lot of things happening, although it's very nascent with respect to a few things. Like, for example, light is still very nascent. A lot of people just do a basic light at the bottom of the cabinets or something. But it's happening. Like, a lot of new things with respect to smart home design is coming into your furniture as well.
Okay, thank you. So coming back to Shagun, when we talk about having an interior, development project for a building or a decent structure, it takes a couple of months. So developers are worried about the time frame, what is going to consume for this kind of projects. So how do you see, is there any trend that comes up with the prefabricated interior designs that reduces your time consumption to complete the project?
First of all, I don't work with developers. Let me just start by saying that I do a lot of home renovations of, homes that have existed in model. So I want to equip your question on prefabricated or, what is a developer looking. And as I see Gurgaon today and the changing environment, at least in Gurgaon, today a lot of developers, including DLF, are actually giving very bare shell homes to homeowners. A lot of the work has to be done by the homeowner, that the shell has been given to them. So whether the prefabricated is going to make, but I know that developers have materials so that materials come up much better. So I think that is changing. But I think in terms of homes, in terms of remodel of homes, pretty much the same goes on. But like I said, that one of the things that my firm has done in terms of remodel, normally a remodel, because it's such a disorganized sector, these remodels can even take from 8 months to a year and a half. And that's the thing that we're trying to change. When we are training our staff, we're trying to say that that's what I want you to change. So if, let's say, at least in this part of the country, there's a lot of this daily labor thing that still goes on. You can find a mason at a daily wage. He will lay, let's say, 40 to 50 square feet of tile. Now, what I'm trying to change with that is to tell my masons that, listen, there is a way and there is a better way, and that adding structure to that to say that you can lay 120 to 150 square feet of tile in a day. So I think that's the change that we are trying to bring. Like I said, I don't work with developers, so I can't answer that question. I work with a lot of homes that are under remodel, after they've been lived in for a while.
That's fair. Fair outlook about it, Mr. Shagun. Thank you. Mr. Amit, recently when we look at the design trends, we see utilization of LED lights for lighting solutions in interior, which is, growing drastically, especially in urban areas. How do you see the design trends using lights, especially in your projects?
Okay, so specifically to LED lights, if you generally see the nature of LED light, then it's very different from the kind of tungsten bulbs or tube lights we used to have earlier. It is a bit harsh on the eye, more harsher than the other systems we had in past. So normally, which is also required by design, what we try to do is we don't really do direct lighting. We try and do as much indirect lighting as possible. And that also, because of indirect lighting, what happens is you see a lot of the surface of the fixture. So that has kind of created a lot of opportunity in the lighting fixture design, and you get really beautiful fixtures with different finishes on top, where light is not direct, but the fixture is the interior element. So yeah, we try and sometimes we say buy out things, but also many times we kind of try and customize fixtures, which adds a unique touch to the interiors.
Yeah, I think Kritika also got something to ask in line with the lighting or usage of lighting. Kritika, can you please ask?
Yes, right. So one question is there for Shagun. What kind of mood lighting can we make for private areas like bedrooms to appear cozy?
So I think pendants are a great way to, if you didn't want to, so I'm a big fan of table lamps and floor lamps, but I understand that they are just cumbersome and take up space, right, on your side table. So now what I have actually started doing in a lot of my projects is I use a lot of pendant lighting, which is what creates the sort of mood lighting. The light from the pendant light is enough to just create that little evening sort of mood that you want. And then I add to reading lights as well, so that if the other person wants to read and they need a little more light, there's always light available. But I think pendant lights, wall lights are a great way to create the mood in a room, which is in any space, which makes it pretty. And it also makes it look really pretty more than anything else.
Right. Ranging from minimalism to luxury, how does lighting change their role?
See, today you can get lights. Just because you use the most expensive light does not mean it's the most beautiful light. You can still get very beautiful lights in many ranges. So you don't have to say, oh my God, I walked into this showroom and I bought a chandelier which cost me 20 lakhs of rupees, sort of thing. You can think about lighting very differently. And that's what I'm saying, that if you do a mixture of lighting in your spaces, You don't have to burn a hole in your pocket. You can have, and today lighting solutions, especially with the kind of pendant lights that are being made, whether they're being made in glass or they're being made in fabric or they're being made in silk, they are really beautiful. It doesn't have to be a loud in-your-face piece which costs a lot of money for it to make a statement. I think that is something that people need to get into their heads, that you don't have to do something loud just to make a point.
Right, very true. Amit, what's your view on the same, ranging from minimalism to luxury? How does lighting differ?
It is not directly related to minimalism and luxury. What I would say, lighting is to change depending on what it is lighting. You cannot directly relate it to what kind of lighting is required for minimal interiors or what is required for luxury or something which is probably a little overboard. Eventually, what it got to light, what kind of space it is going to create, is dependent on that.
Lighting do create a mood for every space. Like, if you say for bedroom, how can you use lighting to appear them more cozy and comfortable?
I would say maybe at least 3 kind of different light setups you need for a room. Maybe you need something at night just for probably reading and like a night lamp setup. Then a kind of, say if you have a false ceiling, then just an indirect light along the edge of the room that kind of gives a very different dim lit mode, and there is no limitation to that, but generally say a 2 or 3 light setups are really good for a bedroom.
Right. So there is one
If I can add, Kritika, actually to that point, that I think that it's very important when you think of lighting to assess your space, like furniture, right? Like you think about lighting. Similarly, you can't put the biggest light. There are certain lights that are created for large spaces. I've seen homes where you walk in and the lights are in your face because you're like, oh my God, this light was designed for a farmhouse for double the size of this space. So I think just like furniture, lighting also has to be in line with the space that you have. Now, if you've got a drawing room which is 1,000 square feet, I have walked into drawing rooms where 1,000 square feet have 24 concealed lights. I mean, that's a lot of lights, right? In one small. So I think it's very important to think about lighting just like you did about furniture or anything else that you're putting in a space, that it must be proportionate to the space that you have.
Very true. One more question we have for the panelists. Having said that, if budget is not a constraint, what are some of the choicest materials one can use to design and adorn their living spaces?
Budget is not a constraint. The world is the limit for you. Go ahead, enjoy yourself. If budget is no constraint, what does one say? Then, there's everything available today from like I said, you don't have to, what I've seen is that people come to you with like unrealistic ideas as well today. On both, one is the really, okay, I'm ready to spend the world on something. One is, I don't want to spend anything and somehow I want this in the space. So I think it's very important to continue to be realistic. You don't have to spend lots and lots and lots of money to make the space look beautiful. But you could. If you have it, go ahead, spend it. Just make sure it fits your space.
I would say people should spend. Just as a side note, I think I'm happier when people spend.
Right.
Yes.
You want to say something more on kitchens on this point of that?
So, right now we get a lot of people who want to do their wardrobes in leather. We're doing a lot of kitchens with ceramic all over. When people have a budget, they just really like Shagun saying, people go crazy on what they want. Like we're right now designing for somebody who just bought a house on the same building to just entertain, and I mean the way they're doing their wardrobes is just mind-blowing.
So I would like Anshul to conclude the discussion here.
Thank you, panelists, for exchanging your valuable thoughts on today's topic, exploring the world of new age interiors. We hope you have enjoyed it. We would like to thank our distinguished panelists, Mr. Amit Rastogi, Ms. Shagun Singh, Mr. Siddhant Agarwal.